Hello and welcome to Mimosa MMP training, where today we'll be walking through the UI. So now that we've installed MMP, we can log into it. So let's go ahead and do that. When you log in here, you have the dashboard page, which has the network status, alarm status, recently viewed devices, and the network map view. So network status, if you click on one of these, it'll take you to the devices page, where it'll give you a list of the devices. If you click on the alarm status, it's going to take you to the alarms page where you can look at the different alarms. And this could be device alarms or this could be system MMP alarms as well. And then, of course, recently viewed devices are devices that I've clicked on lately. We only have 5 devices here, so of course, all 5 are shown here. So we'll go ahead and go to export. So export has a whole bunch of different options where you can export data. So on the devices page, you can export client data or device data. So we've already exported one of each, and you can download these. So you can download and look at those, and it gives you stats for the devices. The same as if you were actually looking at the devices page, but it's exported to an Excel document. That way you can import that to a different system if you need to. Let's see, we can regenerate those reports and we can also delete those reports. To create those reports on the device page, you can either toggle CPE or device information and then export data. We also have the statistics page, and we can download the device specific statistics for 1 hour, 24 hours, or 3 months. So search the name. We have we have Super A6 here, and we can download options 1 hour, 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. So we'll export for 3 days. And it's in progress. And you also can regenerate and delete that report as well. We have the alarms page, so you can click on export data, and then it'll bring you to the alarms page, and you can pick to export open alarms, closed alarms, different levels of alarms. So if we export data, it's going to create an alarm export here that you can open up and look at. And then events, very similar. You click on export data. It's going to bring you to the events page. It's going to show you all the events that have happened in the past hour on MMP. 2 hours, 12 hours, 24, or you can do custom filter and then export that data as well. And then you'll have the file here that you can either regenerate if you need to or delete. On the registrations page, this shows all devices that have associated or tried to associate to the MMP. So as you can see, all of these have been successful, but there will be times where registration has failed or other different things that you can see. And then you can delete devices as well. And here's the fail reason action. So let's see. Go to system. System shows you the status of your server. So as you can see, this server is using almost 25 gigs of RAM out of 62 gigs of RAM. CPU usage is very low. So this just gives you kind of the health of your server. Topology, it's the same as it was on Mimosa Cloud. You can organize your radios however you want. You can also go to auto, which will automatically organize everything for you. Of course, I prefer manual because I like to organize them a specific way. And then you have a legend over here that tells you about the devices and what their status means as well. Now the big page, the devices page, this shows you all the devices that are associated to this specific network, which we're currently on default network. So we have no point-to-point devices associated with this network, but we do have a point-to-multi-point device that we can click on and see the connected clients. And of course, we have all the associated radios on the MMP on just the devices page. So if we click on Super A6, it gives you all of its status, all of its statistics, and its configuration here. See, we have a firmware mismatch as well. And we'll switch to the graphing view. So you can see here that we have some throughput over the AP last week, and we have some currently happening right now. 24 hours, we can go down to 12 hours and zoom in. So this is me running some traffic on the AP, so we have some stats here to look at. Let's see here. Again, this is all the AP information, IP, serial number, firmware version. We can also go to the device UI by clicking device UI button. So we can do that right now. And this takes a minute for it to load, but it's basically proxying into the device. So you can look at some of the stats, some of the configuration here. Spinning, spinning, spinning. But anyway, you can see that. So we'll close that page out. We'll go back here. You can reboot the device from here, factory reset the device from here. We can delete the device from MMP. We can fetch the support log. So this is the tar file that we get when we log into the radio and go to support logs. You can change its friendly name, the GPS coordinates. You can move it to a different network, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then we can look at devices that are connected to it as well. The graphing, we've got throughput, we've got volume, we have client count, which is 4. It shows wireless errors, SP errors, interference, which we have a lot of, but this is because they're laying next to each other on a shelf. We see the device temperature is very static. We have Ethernet stats here. We have, as you can see, when we have traffic, we have Ethernet stats, and the same for transmit Ethernet stats. And then we have Ethernet errors, which no, we don't have any because it's magic. And of course, you can export that data as well. And we have the events, which you can see this device just connected to the MMP late last week. So not a lot of data here. No alarms for the last hour, no events for the last hour. And then down at the very bottom, we have device details. It's got the unlock code. And wireless tab has the wireless settings for this radio, IP information for the radio, what services are enabled or disabled, and then we can actually fetch the logs from the radio. We can download the runtime logs, persistent logs from the radio. Alrighty. So we'll go to events, and events shows all the events that have happened on the MMP. So we have CPU load, disk space low, which really isn't that a big of an issue, but for this specific demo anyway, we can go 1 hour, 2 hour, 12, 24 in custom. So we can go back to the 24th and search. So we basically went back to the whole life of this MMP because it's only been around for a few days for this training, but we have 110 different events, and then we can change to 100 events per page, or we can do 50 or 10. Oh, we have lots more. We have 1,200 or more events, but we can export all those out to a file here, just like we did earlier. All right, and then we'll go to alarms. So we saw this page briefly earlier, but this shows the alarm status of the MMP and devices. So we can look at different levels. We can look at all levels. We can look at different types. So device type, that's my C5X. System is the MMP server itself, and then everything. We also have the search utility. So you can look up serial numbers. So let's say, I'll show you guys here in a bit, but we have a B6 that is not on this network. It's on a different network. Let's see if it'll search for it. and it will. So it actually shows all, we can search for any device connected to this MMP regardless of network it's associated to. We have the firmware update page, which looks a little different than what you see on the Mimosa Cloud, but it functions the same way. And you have a drop-down menu here between different devices. So we have A6, we have C6, C6X on this, and it's not going to show B6 because it's on a different network, but that's okay. And then you can click on it. You can update selected devices if you have firmware updated or uploaded to the server, which we do. I'm not going to update this. Active update shows what's currently being updated if you've activated an update. Update history shows that anything you've updated through MMP. Scheduled updates shows if you have scheduled updates for radios because you can schedule it for a later time. And then you can download firmware just like you could from the Mimosa Cloud. You can download firmware that you have uploaded to MMP to your local machine. So you can see here we have firmware version for A6 and C6. Configure events. You have device, network, and user. You can configure these events. You can turn them on, turn them off. You can turn them off or turn them on for specific devices. Configuration template. So configuration template is used to push out configurations to device types. So on this screen here, we have a test template that's been created, and you can see it's made for A6. Description is just testing for this demo and created by this user account. And we have an action here. We can set as default, we can apply it, we can edit, we can copy and delete it. So if we set this as default, this will always apply to any new A6 that will connect to this MMP server for this specific template. We can apply it manually to any A6 or any other device that we want if the configuration template is set up for that. If we create a default template, which we'll do right now, seeing as you are watching me, this will be applied or to any existing or new A6 that connects. So save. And then we have a default template here that will run whenever you put an A6 on this, just as I explained to you before. Scheduled updates. This shows if a template has been scheduled to update a product, and you'll see that here. You'll see this if this is actively pushing configuration to one of our products that you have configured for it. Then you have a history of those updates, and then you have settings here, which what this means is if a device is not connected to MMP at the time, it will continuously try to push this template out for a specific amount of time, which you can configure on this page. Real quick, we'll just do a new template here so you can see what it looks like. So test 2, and we will do client, testing client demo. So we'll submit. We will select C6. We'll hit next, and it's going to open up the C6 UI. And we're going to go in and select what we want to auto configure for any other device that connects to this that we want to push a template to. Not every option in the UI is available. There's only certain pages and certain options that you can pick. So once this loads, we will pick something. And if this doesn't load, we'll pick a different device. Or I'll skip it and we'll move on to something else. This device has a firmware mismatch with the AP because I'm using AFC on this setup, and 3253 works on C6, but we don't have a 3254 for C6, so that could be a problem here. So let's try C6-1 instead and see if this loads. There it goes. So see, you have very few options on this side. So what we'll do is we'll go to management IP, and I'm just going to select the DNS because I want these two DNS servers pushed to every radio that's connected to the MMP anyway. So we'll go ahead and select that, add that to template, and save and close. We'll hit next, and so now we have a new template. I'm going to make that a default template as well, because like I said, I want any C6, C6X that connects to this to get those DNS servers. And now we have two default templates, one for an A6 and one for C6X. All right, so admin dashboard. So admin dashboard shows you the statistics for all the networks that you have created for this MMP. And you're probably wondering, what do you mean by all networks? So I've created a second network, and if you click the drop down here, you can see that there's another network here. And on this network, we have two devices. We have a B6X AP and a B6X station. And device stats, we have, just the two radios here, just a point-to-point link. There's no point-to-multipoint here. So that's, and you can create as many networks as you want. There are networks out there that have, that I've seen 5 or 6 different networks for different things. So just be aware of that you might have a drop down with different networks if you're troubleshooting with a customer, which we'll go through this here soon. So as you can see, again, it has all the radios from across the MMP for network and alarm status. We can export data from all networks here. So let's do device information. We can export data, and then you have this for all the devices on the network. So again, when you're exporting data here under export, it's just for the network you have selected. Under admin dashboard, it's for all devices on that MMP. Same for alarms, events, user activity. And then you can save export configuration, and it hangs on to this for 7 days. You can change this to whatever you want. User activity. This is the user activity across the whole MMP. Pretty much anything under administration will be the whole server and not just per network. And then you can look at 1, 2, 12, 24 custom, and you can export this data as well. And it goes to the admin dashboard user activity. We have manage notifications. This is just to set up the SNMP for this, and you can also set up mail alerts as well. If you recall from the last training portion, when setting up the MMP server, we did not set up a mail server, so you're not going to really be mailing anything, but you can still set up SNMP. Manage firmware. This is where you can upload new firmware. As you can see, we have 340 uploaded here. C6 we have uploaded here, and we can upload new firmware here in a second. And continuous firmware upgrade is that the MMP server will continuously try to upgrade firmware for the device that's not showing green or yellow. If it's red, if it's not connected for a certain amount of time, if you schedule it and then it can't do it, so it's going to try 30 times. You can turn this off, you can change the settings, and then you have strict firmware compatibility, which is to make sure that let's see. There are some things I don't remember. So there are times where someone wants to change the radio operating mode from System A to TDMA, two-stage process using MMP, and to do that you have to use strict firmware compatibility. So this is just for CDSMA to TDMA swap. But yeah, there's help documentation for all this as well. So if there's something that you're not sure about, you can always check out the help page or feel free to ask one of us as well. So let's go ahead and B6X, let's browse for firmware. We have B6X, description 340GA, submit for verification. All right, so the firmware is uploaded and ready to be published. So what that means is while it's there, you can't actually use it. So we want to click the drop down, publish to NMS. So right now it's restricted. So only admins can get to this. You can change this as well. But we're going to flip this over here and we're going to, I'm air quoting here, GA 340 firmware. So we've just GA'd that. So now it's available for anyone on this MMP server to use. You also can set it to default firmware. I'm not going to do that, but if you want this to be the default firmware pushed out to products, then you can flip that on. Manage network, we have two networks here. We have the default network, which of course is the default one that's created when you first create MMP, and then we have one called Alpha Network. And we have two users assigned to that, and you can delete said users except for the default user. And then default network, we have, oh, sorry, we can't delete the master user from the default network, but you can remove it from, say, the alpha network, which we're not going to do. Manage user, so you can add new MMP users here, and if you don't have a mail server set up, this is be the location you have to do it. We can add a new person here. I'm going to add him to the default network and give the default password Mosa 123 period. Add user. No, we don't want to save it. So now Eric is added, and then we need to, yep, looks like he's all good. So Eric could technically sign in right now if he wanted to and be all good. I'm going to take you through these here soon, so just hang tight. So manage events and alarms. So this is for all events and alarms for the full MMP server and networks. And this is very similar to the events that you saw before. You can enable, disable, you can customize these to be available for certain networks or all networks. And this is across the board for device, network, system, user, and then configure alarms. You can set up how they're sent. So SNMP, through email, through both. You can enable them to show on MMP servers. So you have different methods of how to get alarmed. You also set up their thresholds, and then you can set up how long you want to retain events and alarms on the MMP server as well. Device inventory. You can import a CSV file, but this isn't really used anymore. We don't use MMP public keys or anything like that. But we'll let others comment if there's anything else here to talk about on this page. System settings. You can create a banner at login. Hi, I'm a Bruce banner, you know, because the Hulk. So if we save that, we can log out. Hey, I'm a Bruce Banner, and then we'll log back in. Then we'll delete it. You can also make the password require a change every certain amount of days. Auto registration, let's see here. So you can set this where network admins can allow default firmware and configuration templates. MMP worker is used for setting up multiple MMP servers for redundancy. We've got KPI synchronization and then user activity logs that you can enable or disable. And then the last page here, we have license management. So this server has license A, B, C, and D enabled already. If this was a brand new MMP install, it would say free. You could do trial licenses here as well. So you have online activation. So if this MMP server is connected to the internet, and if the account you're about to put in has MMP licenses assigned to it, you can put your email and password for that account in here. Offline is you can put your email or the customer's cloud account information in here, hit request. This creates a JSON file. You then upload on their Mimosa Cloud account if they have licenses installed, and then it will give you a JSON file that you can upload back here to activate licenses. Now, let's look at this. So we have network settings, invite users. We have your networks and add networks. So network settings, this shows the users that are attached to the specific network. We can click the arrow here, go to Alpha Network, and it shows that the devices are, or the users are also associated with that network. We'll go back. You can change your time zone here and the date time format. So this is a popular thing that people don't know about that you can go in and change. You have your account info here. You can add or change that if you want. And then you create a new network. So beta network. And it's associated with with default network. Finishing, oops, needs an address. Finish and create. So now we have a new network here. And there's no devices associated with that. So we click on it. We're going to go to dashboard and there's nothing associated with that. We go back to Alpha Network and you'll see that again, there are 2 devices associated with that. Default network, we have 5. So account settings, all right, we went through that. Now you can invite a user to a network, but this is a little different than when we went to manage users. So you can set up an account, but the problem is this emails out to the user, and so if you don't have email set up on this MMP server, then that invite will never go out. And if you go back to manage user, you can approve it, but you don't have a way to put in the password here. And so if you put this in and approve the user, they still can't log in. If they do forgot password, they still won't get an email. So if you don't have an email server set up, the only way to set up a user is on the manage users page. All right, we have about, shows the server version, shows the license status, and Help Center takes you to the help site. That looks to be about it, y'all. So that is your UI. Any questions, we can go through specific pages and get more in depth here.